Welcome to Financial Freedom for All, where we help you master your money and live your dream one episode at a time. Today we'll be talking about mortgages with our special guest, Taj Kang, and a bit about how the topic relates to financial freedom. Welcome, Taj.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Nice to be here.
Fantastic. So this podcast really is going to be talking to you a little bit more about understanding what mortgages are about, whether or not you qualify, or how you even go about getting a mortgage. And that's going to be our topic with our special guest today. All right, so Taj, over to you. So Taj, let's have a little bit of a talk. Let's start with a quick introduction. Tell me a little bit about your background and how Genistar Mortgages came to be.
Okay, so I've been in the mortgage sector now since 1999, so in my 26th year now.
Wow.
So I don't know much else, I'll be honest.
You look like 16, Taj. I keep complimenting you on how long you are.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it does age you, but it's a great industry and it does help a lot of people. It changes lives. So I went through a variety of advice roles and then I became a senior manager in a business. That grew very quickly. I was in that business for 13 years and I learnt my trade properly. I learned how to run a business as well as doing the front-end advice. Left that business and then more by chance, by fate, whatever you want to call it, a former business associate introduced me to Jeff.
Wow.
And then we decided that there was a gap in Genistar's proposition for mortgages at that point and we could fill it. So I set up a business at that point with a view to helping Genistar and their clients. So we are here to serve Genistar clients. And I was really, really excited this year at the convention in February to actually launch Genistar Mortgages, which had been in the planning for months and months. And it was one of the hardest secrets I've ever had to keep. A very few select people knew about it in Genistar.
Not me though, Taj. You didn't share that with me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, you weren't in that particular conversation from the start. I'm sorry. But it's fair to say the launch went really, really well. And it was very well received at the convention.
Yes.
We've had an explosion of interest from the field about mortgages ever since. And what I want to do with your help, Barbara, is probably just answer a few of the common questions that we've had. Just to put things in context. So that's me, and that's how Genistar Mortgages came about.
Fantastic. That's amazing. That is amazing.
So Barbara, I've got a question for you before you kick off and ask questions about mortgages. So you've been instrumental in building Genistar's business. You're one of the founding members.
Yeah.
What excited you about this new mortgages arm?
I think one of the challenge we're facing right now is the fact that there's not enough education and there are people who can qualify for a mortgage and don't know the whole route about what to do. And then there's some people who think they can get a mortgage and don't even know whether or not that is actually correct. And this is just such a great opportunity, not just so we're selling mortgages, but we're also giving people the education and the background and a clearer understanding of how the process all works. So I'm really, really excited about that because as part of our motto and ethos is really about getting people to understand the products and services that they use. So this is just a great thing. I know there are lots of advisors out there that just really said, hey, what are you looking for? Here's a mortgage, here's an offer, and there isn't any understanding around there. So this is amazing that we can do that for our clients as well.
Great. Well, let's see what we can do to help and dispel some of the myths and build that education today.
All right. So I've got a question here for you. So can you break down what a mortgage is in the simplest terms for someone who might be completely new to the concept?
Essentially, a mortgage is the means to own your home. Most people do not have hundreds of thousands of pounds sat around in cash. Property prices have gone crazy in the last few years. It's becoming harder and harder to get onto the property ladder. So what you're basically doing is you're borrowing money from a bank or some other lending institution. And if you're successful in that process, they will give you most of the money that you need to actually buy your home. That's essentially what a mortgage does.
Okay. So what are some of the common misconceptions that people have, you would say, in your experience about getting a mortgage?
So the best place to start is probably the hard bit, which is you will need to demonstrate you can save and you're financially disciplined. So if you've got a lifestyle where you're spending money on shopping, you're eating out all the time, banks are going to look at all of that and they're going to think, hey, if this lifestyle continues, we're not going to have the money for our mortgage payment every month.
Yes.
So one of the common misconceptions is you can carry on doing what you're doing and qualify for a mortgage. You do have to be financially disciplined.
Yes.
You have to be able to save.
Yes.
And that's why banks ask you for a down payment or a deposit. That's a demonstration that you can save.
Yes.
So that's the common one. Another one will be that you have to have an absolutely perfect credit rating. It has to be 999 out of 1,000.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be right at the top. It has to be good,
Yes.
but it doesn't have to be excellent. So
Yes.
again, as long as you've got the deposit and you can demonstrate that your financial affairs are in order when you apply for the mortgage, you can get away with having a credit rating which is okay rather than excellent.
Okay.
So they're the two that we normally hear.
Okay. Alrighty. So how does Genistar Mortgages differ from traditional, lenders or high street banks? Might be even talking to, let's say, just a regular person, or even going online and looking for a mortgage. How does Genistar Mortgage compare?
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the industry.
All right.
And what's been happening. And I've seen this throughout my career. It hasn't changed. I don't think it will change. When you take out a mortgage, the size of the mortgage will tell the broker or the bank how much money they're making out of you. So the bigger the mortgage, the more the bank or the broker makes.
Yes.
So what tends to happen with mortgages, same as in full financial advice, is the normal people who don't need massive mortgages, who don't need £1 million houses or £2 million houses, they tend to get ignored.
Yes.
So you're not as valuable a commodity if you're a normal person
Yes.
as if you're a wealthy business person who's looking to borrow £1 million.
Yes.
So what Genistar Mortgages are here to do, and this is part of our DNA, this is the reason that when Jeff and I first started talking about this, we got on so well, is because we are here to serve the common people.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the first thing. You will get time from us to discuss your affairs and get a chance of getting onto the property ladder. Secondly, when you talk to Genistar Mortgages, you're talking to an independent whole-of-market mortgage broker. That means we can access any lender who's happy to accept inquiries from mortgage brokers, which is probably 98%, it's the vast majority of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, if you're speaking to your own bank, that's one option. We've got access to over 120 lenders.
Yes.
So you've got choice, you've got options. And if it doesn't fit with one bank, we'll find the best option for you. One thing that we will do is based on our processes and based on our client-centric ethos, we will always ensure you get the best deal for your circumstances. And if you can't get plan A, we'll get plan B for you. And if you don't want plan B, we'll let you know what you need to do to achieve plan A.
Yes.
So the consultation will be a valuable exercise in itself, even if you don't end up getting a mortgage out of it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, I just wanted to also say then, so I think in my experience of working with you over the time, there are times when people will not necessarily fit into the box, but you have been so good in kind of guiding them and saying, well, actually, if you were to fix this or tweak this, and I think that is what's so great about you that I love, is the fact that you don't just say, okay, there you go, we can't help you, goodbye. You'll always kind of give them great guidance to kind of say, and is that just you, or is that the whole Genistar mortgage process? And everybody that Genistar Mortgages, is that how they are, that they're going to show the client the right way to kind of get on the right path? Is that just you, or is that ethos of the whole company?
Really, really good question. Obviously, you and I have been working together for a number of years now,
Yes.
so you know exactly how I do things.
Yes.
The company has been built from the ethos of assisting people to create a legacy for family, to create property wealth. Financial freedom is really, really important to us, as well as to Genistar. We firmly believe in all of that. So we do have a common goal there in terms of what we're trying to do. The processes in the business are built around offering help.
Yes.
So if we can't help you now, we will let you know what needs to happen for you to be able to be credit worthy for a mortgage. Now, we'd love to have those conversations with absolutely everybody. We physically can't. We don't have the capacity. So what we have done very kindly on Genistar's part, actually, is we've taken a process which we call ICE, where we've put together some rules around this is what people in the field should check before they actually send a client to Genistar Mortgages, so they don't end up disappointed.
Yes.
And they don't end up wasting their time. And we don't have the capacity to speak with absolutely everybody. We'd love to. But then what that will do is it gives the field a bit of knowledge as well about what the general criteria is around mortgages.
Yes.
We'll talk about that in a bit more detail, I'm sure, during this conversation.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so the ethos is not just about me. The processes that I have built in my business are all about putting the client first.
Absolutely. And I can certainly agree with that, because I know clients just seem to love you guys. And have people calling up specifically asking, can I speak to Taj? But then again, naturally, as the team grows, then more of those names are going to become more well known. And that's what we're looking for, right? That the team grows as well.
Exactly. So as the business grows, the principle should remain the same, regardless of which people come in and out.
Yes.
The principle should be to serve the client first and foremost.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thanks for that. Yeah. Fab.
So I've got a question for you, Barbara, if I may.
Yeah.
You deal with a lot of people. I mean, your personality means that you're going to be engaging with people every day, with a view to understanding whether you can help them.
Yes.
So from your experience, what are the most common questions you get asked personally about mortgages when you're speaking with people?
Okay. I think one of the things that people ask is, how much deposit do I need? And for a lot of people, and as we know, there's still people with their kind of right to buy and all of that. But that's the question that I get asked the most: how much deposit do I need to actually get? And it's funny, people always ask. It's just like savings account. People go like, "And what's the interest rate going to be?" And you kind of go like, "Well, well, it depends on your circumstances, and and what you're looking for." So those are the two common ones: how much deposit do I need, and what kind of interest rate? In fact, and there might be a third one, which a lot of people don't ask as much, is how much is it going to cost me? How much is the team going to charge for doing this for me as well? I think that's usually at the bottom, is mainly how much deposit do I need, and as well, and the interest rate. Those are kind of the main ones that we get.
So I want to answer each one of those points in turn because they're really, really important ones. I can't answer everybody's queries with this, but I'm going to give you a general idea, so it should help most people. Deposit is a big one. We get asked that a lot as well. So with deposits, you can actually get onto the property ladder now, depending on your circumstances, with 0 savings down.
Yes.
So you mentioned right to buy.
Yes.
If you own your council home or if you own your housing association property, if the council or the housing association give you the offer to buy it, they will give you a discount.
Yes.
We can use the discount that the council or the housing association give as your deposit.
Fantastic.
Okay?
Yes.
So that's one option. Obviously, not everybody is a council tenant or a housing association tenant. If you're a private tenant and you're paying a certain level of rent, we do have access to a lender who will be able to do it with 0 deposit down as well. You have to be able to prove that you are paying rent which is going to be equal to or higher than your proposed mortgage payment. Wow. And you have to demonstrate you've been doing that for 12 months without missing any rent payments.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
So that's with quite a large lender. We actually had some input into their policy. I've been working with this lender for nearly 15 years now. And in my previous company, I helped them put together a bespoke lending policy for affluent professionals. And I've built on those relationships, tried to use them for Genistar as well.
Yeah.
So I had some input into that 0 deposit option. So that's an option too. For first-time buyers, those options are absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
If you're not a first-time buyer, the minimum deposit you'll generally need is going to be 10% of the purchase price.
Yes.
And then for investors, it's normally 25%. If you're buying an investment property, it can be as low as 20%, depending on how good the rent is on the property that you're looking to buy.
Yes.
So there's all these different scenarios depending on your situation where you can do it for as little as 0.
Yes.
And then for investors, it's higher.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the deposit. Interest rates, again, depends on the purpose.
Yes. Yes.
Generally speaking, the smaller your deposit, the higher the interest rate.
Okay.
So people going for a 0% deposit option, you are going to pay a higher rate and you are going to be stuck on that rate for 5 years.
Yes.
Okay, the bank wants to make their money from you because they're taking on a lot of risk.
Yes,
so it's understandable.
yes.
Generally speaking, I mean, the interest rates are dropping at the moment. I think that if you're getting a rate, generally speaking, of under 5% and you're a first-time buyer, you're doing well.
Yes.
If you're remortgaging and you have quite a bit of equity in the property, you can get rates now just below 4%. And the Bank of England base rate is at 4.25.
Yes, exactly.
So you're doing well if you get less than 4%.
Yes.
So again, because we've got market access, we've got access to 20,000 plus mortgage schemes.
Yes.
So we've got sourcing systems that work all of this out for us once we feed your circumstances into them. Then we have to speak with the banks. But rest assured, we will always get the best rates for the circumstances of the client.
Yes.
The final one is cost. When you're buying a property, there's a lot of costs involved. There's legal fees. You may have to pay stamp duty, land tax if you're buying at a certain price, or if you're a next-time buyer rather than the first-time buyer. There's going to be things like surveys you may want to get done. We, as an independent mortgage broker, if you are buying a property, we will usually charge a fee.
Yes.
The fee that we typically charge is £495. Now, we can charge as little as nothing, depending on your situation. We will typically charge £495. We can charge more. We can charge up to £1,500 if your situation is really complex. So, for example, if it's a complex buy-to-let situation where planning permission required or a change of usage, and we need to do bridging finance followed by a regular mortgage.
Yes.
There's a lot of moving parts there for us to sort out. So we have to charge more. Essentially, the fee is there to charge for our time.
Yes.
It's a processing fee. So the more complex the situation, the more manpower is required to get the solution in place so you can buy the property. But most of our clients pay £495 when they're buying a property. You don't pay anything until you've had your offer accepted on the property.
That was going to be my next question.
By which time we will have thoroughly investigated the options. We would have identified a lender for you. We would have had an agreement in principle for you based on a conversation with an underwriter at that lender. So this mortgage is not going to fall down. As long as the property's okay, your finances, there's a big tick in the box already.
So as long as the property itself is not falling down.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the property survey has to be good.
Yeah.
The bank has to say this property is fine for us to lend against.
Yes.
But your finances will be okay.
Okay.
Then, because we will have thoroughly vetted. You only pay us when you apply for the mortgage formally.
Yes.
When your offer is accepted.
Yeah.
So there's all the work we do before that, we don't charge anything for.
And just one other question, because I do, people ask me sometimes as well, do we charge like a percentage of the mortgage? Because there are brokers out there who then say, if you're borrowing this much, we also charge a percentage apart from our processing fee. So are there any other costs, from, your side at Genistar Mortgages, are there any other costs involved, or just, that one-off fee we just mentioned?
It's a really good point. There are brokers out there that charge very, very high fees. I don't know how they justify them.
Yes.
If I were them, I'd be quite worried about how they justify that to people like the FCA.
Yes.
Even if they can justify it to the client.
Yes.
We don't believe in charging any more than what the complexity of the transaction dictates. So we're fair with all of our pricing.
Yes.
We haven't changed our fee for Genistar since day one.
Yes.
Our costs have gone up a bit, but we try to keep things as easy as possible for the client to do business with us. In terms of additional costs, over and above that, we do not charge anything else. The lenders may charge some kind of arrangement fee. They normally let you add it to the mortgage.
Yes.
It's not necessarily something you have to find from your savings. If you can pay it from savings, it's better because you
yes.
don't pay interest on it.
Yeah.
But you do have the option. I do understand that when you're buying a property, your finances get very squeezed and you want to know how much you're paying on everything. Part of our process to get you what we call mortgage ready is to ensure that you understand what these other costs are going to be as well. Even though we're not charging them, we can try to give you an estimation as to what they may look like so that you can budget for them as well as your deposit.
All right. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. All right. Okay.
So, Barbara, just from my point of view, if we think about your team, they're probably getting questions all the time.
Yes.
On mortgages. How do you and your team help clients understand what's right for them around mortgages? So, some of it's going to be timing, I guess, but how does that actually look from your side?
Well, the thing about it is once we gather the fact finder from the client, that will kind of give us an idea and understanding. And one of the things that we train our team to do is not just say the client say, hey, I want a mortgage, and we just, because we know there's a basic process where we can just say, okay, what's your name, what's your address, how much you're looking to borrow. But one of the things that we encourage the team to do is to do the full fact finder, which then gives us, as you said, a clear understanding of how much do you spend on your takeaways and all of that. So it gives us an idea as to what we're looking for, because a lot of time we do find that somebody might be remortgaging and they have equity already, as you mentioned. But one of the things is they're not thinking about the other costs, might be new charges, new solicitor costs if they're moving properties and all of that. So we do go through the full fact finder because we want to get a clearer picture. So when we send these clients across to you, it's also not, it might be a waste of your time as well. And I think one of the things that's so great about your team is that we can have a conversation beforehand instead of taking the client down the whole route and then go like, oh no, we're really sorry. Your team, they're always at the ready, we can get on the phone, we can call the office, we can call their mobiles and say, hey, we've got this case. What are your thoughts? And they are very, very good in terms of helping us to understand that. But I think gathering the fact finder is very, very important because it gives us just a little bit more than just the tick boxes and the filling in the boxes. It gives us like the more soft notes around this person that we're talking about as well. So that is how I encourage my team to make sure we have adequate information that we can share with you as well.
Great. That's really good to know because we don't see that end. We see the referrals come through.
Yes.
We will occasionally get a phone call.
Yes.
So that's excellent. So Barbara, can you walk me through a typical experience a client would have with Genistar Mortgages?
So pretty much, we get our client in, and clients come to us through different channels. It could be a referral, or we could just be talking to a client following on from a meeting we had with another client, or sometimes, as I say, they call us up and say, "Okay, great, we're looking to talk about a mortgage." And this is where we go through, kind of a bit of an education, talk a little bit more about who Genistar is, and also about, the mortgage side of things, and, the things we mentioned earlier about income, credit, and all of that. So we try to cover that. But then we gather the information in a fact finder, which pretty much is looking at the client's personal life in terms of their finances and, some of the things that they're looking to achieve, their goals, their dreams. And we do all of that. And then once we've gathered all of that information, and we can see that, okay, this might fit in to the criteria. So when clients come into us, it's very much about, let's get the basic and then let's build on that before we send it through to the mortgage team for the mortgage to have a look at as well. And also, as I said, not only is it not, kind of, wasting the client's time, it's also about not wasting your time at the mortgage team as well. And also for the Genistar representative going through the process, it's also not them sitting and wasting time. However, one of the things that's so brilliant about it is the fact that, as I said earlier when we were talking, is that we can actually get you to give them some guidance. The Genistar mortgage team giving them the guidance to kind of say, okay, this might not fit right now, but if you did this, and this, then it would fit. And I think that's what is so good about it, is that is giving them the guidance to go through with it, with what they need to achieve as well. And it's also being encouraging to our clients as well, because we don't just want them, whilst we're not going to fill them with false hope, we also want to be positive about their experience with us as well, to know that even if it's not right now, they can always come back to us in the future as well for a mortgage.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes. All right. So for Taj, now I've got for you, what kind of person is ideal for getting involved in the mortgage side of Genistar? What does the ideal kind of client look like coming to you for a mortgage?
So ideally, there would have been some plans already based on doing your own research, for example. So a lot of people, they don't just step in and speak to an advisor straight away. They tend to have a look online. Mm-hmm. There's a wealth of information online these days. Yes. The issue is trying to make sense of it all. Mm-hmm. So most people do have a general idea. It's good to have that preparation done. Go to reputable sources online, try to understand things like, what are the options for me to pay the money back to the bank? How many years would I typically take it over? How would the interest get charged? Would I want it fixed? Would I want it variable, going up and down? You don't have to understand it all, as long as you've done a very brief sort of familiarity exercise around mortgages. When they actually are ready to speak with us, it's normally good also for them to know that the credit history has to be reasonably good. Mm-hmm. So look, things happen in life. Some people have some blips on their credit reports. If they're historic, we can normally find a way around that. If people come to us with a personal loan that's 6 months in arrears, yes, it's not going to work with a mortgage. So it's situations like that. So the ideal situation will be anything that's bad on the credit report happened historically. Ideally, we want a clean credit report in the last 3 years by the time we're talking to them about a mortgage. A deposit, it's useful to have a deposit. Like I said, there's not many options at the moment with 0% down. So try to have at least 5% if you're a first-time buyer. Demonstrate you can save in a disciplined way, which is what banks are looking for. They like people who show that they're disciplined financially. Make sure your spending, particularly in the last 6 months, is under control. Yes. So we talked about things like takeaway shopping, all of the extravagant things. Just make sure they're controlled. Yes. You don't have to eradicate them completely, but make sure that the bank account is in the black at the end of the month, every month, rather than in the red. And then there's on top of that, there's things like getting your documents in order. So if you're a permanent employee, make sure you've got your pay slips to hand. We normally need the latest 3 months. If you're self-employed, we're going to need your latest 2 years. Tax calculations, which are documents generated when a tax return is submitted. So it's the proof of income side of things. Make sure that's all neat and tidy as well. So they're the ideal scenarios that we get. If you haven't done all of that groundwork, that's okay too. We can guide you. It just means that we will ask you to go away and do that. Yes. After you've spoken with us. You mentioned credit there. I've got a question about credit reporting. So there are all these different credit reference agencies out there. So I've seen cases where somebody might be okay on one and not realize that they're not okay on the other one. Is there a way that the client can actually find out, how do I look across everybody? What does everybody look like? Looking at my credit report, what do I look like to everybody that's looking on? Really good question. I've been looking at technology solutions for Genistar Mortgages quite hard over the last 12 months. We found a really, really good one. So what we now have is we have the system that we use to process mortgages when people come into us, inquiries all the way through to completion. We've now got an integrated system that manages that whole journey. It's also got a sourcing engine in there, which allows us to source the best deal for our clients. It's also got a link to a credit referencing agency as well. So if you fill in the information that we ask you to do online, all we need to do, or all that our client needs to do, is click a button and it will download all of their credit data into our form.
Wow.
Okay. It does that. And what it also does as well is it will look at your postcode, the size of your family. So if it's, for example, 2 adults and 2 children, and you're in Southeast London, it will work out what the cost of living is there for a typical family in your postcode for a property your size, and it will fill in the budget planner and ask you to check it as well. So things like water, gas, electricity, council tax, insurance costs. It will get all of this from the Office of National Statistics, put it into the form for you. So rather than you having to find all this stuff from your bank statements, you can actually just click a button, it downloads it all, and you just check it.
Except the takeaways, right?
Except the takeaways. They won't have those in there.
Won't have the takeaways in there.
So we're using technology to try to make the credit referencing process easy for our clients.
Yes.
That same process will also validate their identity electronically, so you don't have to give us passports and things.
Wow.
So
imagine how think of what might be when you originally started out, what things were like, right? In terms of identification.
It was very manual. Yeah. So even up until a couple of years ago, we were having to get a customer to sit there with their passport on a Zoom call next to their face.
Say, is that me?
And then we have to validate that it's a true likeness. Then we can stamp the document and say it's a true likeness to the bank. So technology is moving on. We are trying to keep our business along that journey as well, because it makes life easy for the customer at the end of the day.
Yes.
To get the data. So that's what we're doing around credit referencing and the rest.
All right. So how have you structured Genistar Mortgages to support entrepreneurs or part-time business builders? Because again, now, these days we've got more entrepreneurs and all of that. How do we support somebody in that area for mortgages?
So with part-time people, Genistar tends to start out as a side hustle alongside the main job, right?
Yes.
One of the key challenges that people have when they're trying to apply for a mortgage is saving the deposit.
Yes.
The extra income that the Genistar income brings into the household can go towards deposit. So you can keep your day job. It's hard doing it like that.
Yes.
But whilst you're building your business within Genistar, it gives you the ability to save more, which means you can get onto the ladder quicker.
Yes.
So one of the common issues that we do have with people is it's going to take me 18 months to get to that deposit figure. It's almost unattainable.
Yes.
Well, you can do something about bringing in more income.
Yes.
So the Genistar part-time option works really, really well if you're disciplined to do both.
That's amazing, because if you were to think about it, that, even, it might not be necessarily straight away income on a tax return straight away, but in terms of a deposit, I think that's a brilliant thought to say, it's a great way of accumulating your deposit a lot quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. More income will fill up that pot very, very quickly.
Okay. So what's the earning potential or long-term opportunity for someone who wants to take, this business seriously in terms of saying, okay, mortgages are a great income producer. What are some of the earning potential, would you say?
So with mortgages, they do run in cycles.
Yes.
So if I were to arrange a mortgage for you today, Barbara,
yes,
you would take it either on a 2-year rate or a 3-year rate or a 5-year rate, which basically means that your mortgage is locked in for a period of years, for a number of 2, 3, 5 years, whatever that term is. And then we will pay Genistar a commission for the introduction once the mortgage completes. But then what will happen is in 2, 3 or 5 years' time, we start the conversation with the client again. Normally 6 months before that deal expires, we will start talking to them to say, hey, your deal's going to expire. This is what the interest rate climate looks like. We need to start looking into the best option for you, because you can change your mortgage from your current bank to a different bank. It's called remortgaging. And we stay on top of our clients' end dates to make sure that happens in a timely fashion. So as far as the Genistar field are concerned, they will have another opportunity to earn more revenue off the back of the introduction that they originally made years ago.
Yes.
The most important thing for us is the client is looked after.
Yes.
They don't forget about their mortgage and end up going on to really high interest rate.
That's very good. Yeah.
We're seeing clients that we helped 2-3 years ago who are on rates of 1.5%, 2%. And the real world today says around 4%. So they're going to be in for a shock.
Yes.
So what we can start doing with people like that is we speak with them 6 months early to say, look, yes, your mortgage is down to 23 years now.
Yes.
Interest rates have gone up. If you left your mortgage term the same, your mortgage payment may go up by £400.
Yes.
Is that affordable?
Yes.
If it isn't, let's stretch the mortgage term out again to maybe 25 years or 28 or 30 years.
Yes.
But you can only make that happen if you have the conversations with us early,
Yeah.
which is why we believe in really, really early outreach to our clients.
You seem like you're a mind reader. I actually had that as one of my questions to ask you. So in other words, what we're saying here is that you will actively support the clients and help them to make sure that they don't fall off without realizing. But also for somebody who is involved in the business, it's also a great opportunity for them to have that income in the future again. And that is just that's brilliant. And so somebody else, what would you say? So somebody could then come in the business, join the business. Can they refer themselves then for a mortgage?
Yes, they can. Yeah. So we help a lot of people who actually work within Genistar as reps with their own mortgage requirements.
Yes.
You have to ensure that, again, you qualify for the basic criteria.
Yes.
As long as you do, then absolutely you can refer yourself, and we're delighted to help people.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So you can get a mortgage for yourself. You can refer yourself for it. You can earn the income up front. And when it's due for the end of the expiry term for the current rate, you can also earn on it again.
Absolutely.
So it's a win-win all around.
It is indeed, yes. And the other thing about mortgages is it's sometimes the most pressing need for people over and above the other financial education services that Genistar provides. So it's a really, really important part of the whole package from Genistar. We're delighted to be part of it, delighted to add value to the overall proposition.
Yes.
So, even if it's not the revenue that's driving people to talk about mortgages with clients, the client will normally want to talk about something like that because they want to get on the property ladder. Rents are crazy these days, aren't they?
Absolutely.
So especially in the southeast. So if you want to avoid that issue and seize control around the roof over your head, you have to own your own home.
Yeah, and as you said, that's definitely posing a problem for a lot of people because what we're seeing is that they haven't got enough. They're paying so much for rent that there's not enough to find a deposit to put aside. So yes, it is a challenging situation.
It is.
But we can work around it.
We can indeed, yes.
Okay, yeah.
So just talking about that, you just got me thinking. So can you share a story of someone that has been helped through Genistar Mortgages that has really stood out for you since we've been working together?
Absolutely. So there's a particular case that Genistar Mortgages worked on for me that was really a tough case because one of the things we find that, kind of post-Brexit, we've got lots of people who've got UK properties now, expats, and it's challenging for them because some lenders now no longer want to lend them living overseas. And one of the things that you and your team were able to put in place for my client was to help them to still keep their UK property because whilst other lenders were saying not interested, don't want it, they were able to get a deal that was fantastic. They save on the rate they were paying their existing lender as well. So the monthly amount went down, and also they now have an asset still in the UK that if they do decide to move back to the UK, they can still have an asset in the UK. So that was one of the ones. I mean, and normally we have the ones where there might be a little blip, and they might a little bit. I think that's one that really stood up because it just didn't fit the norm, and so a lot of people just give up and would have said, "Oh, let's sell the property." But you and your team, you guys were like, no, we can work through this. And even when I despaired and thought it was going to happen, you were able to get it through. My client was over the moon. You and your team, you guys are just like, the best thing ever for this client because they're just like, wow, they didn't know they were going to get it because they felt like they had to let go of the property. And for me, that one really stood out because it just didn't fit the regular box. And normally we can say, hey, you got your deposit, your credit is good, your equity, and the property is fine. But in this case, there were just all these other bits that were inside. And I think that might be for you. That might have been one of those ones as well where you think, oh, It just doesn't fit all the boxes. It just was just bulging out, or trying to squeeze it into the box, but the box wasn't holding.
I remember the case well. I do
Yes.
remember it very well. It was very, very complicated.
Yes.
I mentioned to you earlier, we've got access to over 20,000 mortgage products.
Yes.
In this scenario, I think it went all the way down to about potential of 4.
Yes.
The market, there just wasn't much there to be
Yes.
able to tick all of the boxes from the lender's risk assessment point of view.
Mm-hmm.
The good news is we do have relationships with certain banks, which is what we did here,
Yes.
where we can say, look, this bit here doesn't quite fit your policy.
Yes.
If you look at these things over here, like the equity in the property, like the rent that the property is getting, like the incomes of these people who are living in France, I believe.
Yes.
There's a lot here to offset the risk of this one thing over here.
Yes.
So we did a little bit of bargaining with the
Yes.
lender in the background, which we can do.
Yes.
If you're an individual borrower trying to find that solution, even if by luck you happen to come across a bank who may do it,
Yes.
you can't have that conversation with them about bending some of their policy
Yes.
to fit the situation by offsetting risk.
Yes.
We know how to have those conversations, which is why this deal happened.
And I think what was great about that one as well, in the process of, I know the legal side of it, the solicitors that they were using was pretty much dragging their feet and all of that. But in that time, the lender then had a better rate. And the lender contacted them and said, by the way, this was a team that, the Genistar mortgage team got for you. This was the deal they got. But, we've now got this deal that will still save you a bit more money. And so that was just amazing, because most lenders wouldn't do that. And I think, again, as you said, having those relationships with those people as well just makes such a huge difference that they still got even a better deal because of the process and the length of time that their solicitors took.
Exactly. That's a really good point. It's one that I actually forgot about this scenario. We've actually got a process in place.
Yes.
Which is we engage with you 6 months early, for example.
Yes.
We get you a mortgage offer in a month.
Yes.
You still got 5 months. The market can change in 5 months
Yes.
before your deal's going to actually come into play. We actively monitor what's happening with that lender. If the deals come down, if the rate comes down, we will automatically contact the lender and switch it and get you a revised offer on the lower rate, which is what we did for this client as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So because we do it every day, I forgot it's part of our process. So that's
Yes,
exactly what
yes.
we do. Is again, it's putting the client first.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're doing a rate switch with your own lender, so let's say you've got a mortgage with, I don't know, Barclays.
Yes.
And you've switched your rate yourself.
Yes.
And you've done it early, and you've still got 3 months to go. If their rates come down, they're not going to tell you.
Yes.
It's up to you.
Well, to figure
It's
it
up
out,
to
yeah.
you to go to them and say, can you switch it?
Yes.
So most people don't know how
Yes.
rates are changing. We actively monitor it all. So even if you need to stay with the same lender and switch the mortgage with that particular lender, we will monitor it for you to make sure you're getting the best deal with that lender.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things I've seen about your team as well, where they're really good in that if your existing lender has got a deal that it would have been okay for them just to switch, your team has just kind of said, hey, by the way, your lender has got, there's no point of paying us to do it. You can go, if you want us to do it, we'll still do it. But, you can go directly. They're already your lender. Why don't you just go to them and there's this deal? So I think that's just so amazing about the whole integrity of what is going on here that we can actually say that the team will do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that we hold very dear in terms of our service proposition. But somebody once told me very, very early in my career, if you look after the client and their needs, everything else takes care of itself.
Yes.
You end up with repeat clients. You end up with them telling other people about the service.
Yes.
And it means that there's no people getting ripped off in the process.
Yes.
So there's integrity in the industry as well.
Yes.
We firmly believe in all of that.
Yes.
Which is why we have this process in place to make sure the best deal is the one that you complete on.
Fantastic.
If you're one of our clients. So
Yeah.
it's been working very well so far. So Barbara, a question for you then. So as somebody who's already promoting Genistar Mortgages, how does this actually add value to your existing business?
It certainly does, because one of the biggest things we found when we ask clients about their goals and their dreams is, I want to own my own property. And for a lot of those people, even if I pass away, I still want my children to have a property. So being able to fit this in, and it's just not just very one-sided, we're just saying, oh, by the way, we only do, for example, life insurance, which anybody can do. We're offering the client a more rounded plan and a more rounded solution. So a client who needs, for example, any other product, we are able to say, actually, we can also help them with their mortgage as well. And some of the things that you've just shared Honestly, I must say I'm still learning because I'm thinking, oh, I didn't know that bit. So again, being able to say to the clients that look, by the way, you can come on board, you can join us. And you can also get save enough for your deposit. So it's also helping me to build and expand the team. So we have more people who are able to help more families and offer the solutions to more clients. So there's that side of it, but also being able to help a client to get on the property ladder, because I think it's one of the biggest things for people is being able to say, hey, I got my keys. I remember getting my first set of keys and I'm thinking like,
it's an amazing
it's that feeling, right?
Yeah.
So it is the same thing as well with, being able to do that for the client is that satisfaction to say that, it is something, because most times that, people get something that they can't really see. Most of the times the services that we offer, they're just services, and might be until something happens, you don't actually see it come together. But you can literally walk past that house and say, that's it. It stands, it fits in somebody's eyes and in their line of vision. And that's the thing, is being able to give something tangible to somebody or you show them that it is possible. So for me, being able to offer my clients the option and they don't have to then go to somebody else. Because one of the things I do find is that if we're not offering mortgages and they go down the road and see somebody else for a mortgage, they're going to offer them the other products that I could have offered them. So being able to do everything for my client is just really, really good. And for the clients coming in, being able to service and offer it for themselves and to themselves, that's just amazing. It's just wonderful.
Well, that's really good to know. And
yes.
When we came along 4 or 5 years ago now,
yes.
There wasn't anything in place
yes.
at that point as far as mortgages were concerned. So
yes.
it's now become a really important part of your proposition,
yes.
which is great to see.
Yeah.
And since you've been talking about Genistar Mortgages, what's been the biggest win for you since integrating mortgages into your offering?
Is being able to see my team base grow, I think, because one of the thing is, as I said earlier, is the fact that I can just say, for example, if I'm talking to you about a mortgage, I can say, hey, by the way, you can refer yourself. And by the way, if you refer yourself for this, you can also refer yourself to get your home insurance done as well. So for me, that's the biggest thing, is being able to get more people involved in the business, because also it's also teaching them to understand how it all works. Because for a lot of people, for example, when I got my first property, it was a trial and error. Back then, interest only mortgages, nobody trained you to say, actually, after 25 years, how are you going to pay it back? You never thought about those things. And we're getting so many of those people coming out now at the other end. So for me, is being able to see my client base grow, to see my team members grow, the number of team members we have in the business grow because of having Genistar Mortgages. For me, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
It's certainly great to receive referrals from new names.
Yes,
we
exactly.
Get new people
exactly.
talking to us, which is fantastic.
Yes, and new contacts. Yeah.
And how easy is it for somebody in your team, for example, to add mortgages to the portfolio of services that they talk about?
I think it's quite simple, because one of the thing about it is when I'm talking to my clients, and as you know, before we kind of jump into products, we start with an education approach. So we talk to the clients about understanding the basics and telling them what's available and what's possible for them. So my team goes through the same thing as well, in being able to share that with the clients first before they kind of go in. So I think being able to get the knowledge, because even if somebody is listening to this and they come in now and this about how easy is it going to be for me, we have all the processes in place. We have the education side in place, and then we've also then got the system all set up. And literally, it's like a turnkey system. You go in, you don't have to know everything about mortgages in order to be able to get a client in. So my team members are able to come in, even the newbies. I mean, for a lot of people, I was talking last night to the team, because we run these sessions to help people get through the process of getting licensed up and all of that. And I was talking, and one person said, yeah, I'm doing my mortgage exam now. And I was laughing. I said, yeah, we said to do. And they said, yeah, but I want you to do mortgages first. Okay, that's fine. Okay, get along, get it done, get greater. Yeah. She was doing her mortgage one. I was like, okay, fine. Just go ahead. So again, it is just so simple. I think it's just, the process of understanding how to refer is just so simple, and anybody can do it.
I love that Genistar do that, by the way.
Yes,
I think it's great that we need the field to have a certain level of knowledge about mortgages before they can talk to clients about referring them over to us.
Absolutely.
It helps knowledge
Yes.
within the business. It helps the client to understand what is and isn't possible at outset as well. So love the approach. Absolutely love it.
All right. Okay, so Taj, why was now the right time to launch Genistar Mortgages? And I'm going to ask you my next question as well. And what sets your offering apart from other? I think we might have asked you that already, but I think we can just kind of wrap that in again about what sets Genistar Mortgages apart from other providers.
Okay. Well, look, in terms of the timing, like I said to you at the start, it's been in the planning for a number of months. It just made sense because since my business started working with Genistar, Genistar very quickly became the largest partner that we had. And then we've got to the point now where we're not expending too much energy on other relationships with other partners. We are solely focused on making the Genistar journey a success for Genistar and for their clients.
Yes.
So it made absolute sense to launch Genistar Mortgages. If you're working with this great brand Genistar and what it all means, it makes sense for the Genistar mortgage proposition to be aligned in name as well as in action.
Yes.
So they were the key sort of motivators as to why it happened now. It would have happened earlier if we had the planning done in sufficient time, but it was always the plan to launch it at a convention.
Yes. Yeah.
So the timing was February.
Yes.
So that's the reason for the timing. In terms of the offering and how we set it apart, we are very, very closely aligned to the Genistar ethos, the way of doing the financial education and helping people to achieve their financial goals.
Yes.
So that's what sets our offering apart from other firms. If you're dealing with, look, there's some really good mortgage brokers out there. I know a lot of people in the industry. But to have somebody so closely aligned with your way of doing business, with your way of speaking with your clients, is not easy to do unless you have a very, very close relationship like this one.
Yes.
So that's what sets us apart. That's on top of the service, on top of the technology, on top of the fair charging structures, and on top of all the rules and regulations that we adhere to, which every broker should.
Yes. Okay. All right. So with the current state of the housing market, do you think now is a good time for people to even bother buying or even to sort of look at getting into mortgage as a business?
Well, getting into mortgages as a business, that's an interesting one. I'm going to deal with that one first because obviously it's what I do.
Yeah.
It's not easy to get into mortgages as a career, but it is a rewarding career if you do it. Yes. One of the things I'd be quite interested in doing as the business grows is speaking with people who already work within Genistar to see whether they want to become qualified mortgage advisors. And if they do, we would be more than happy to bring them into our business and to help them.
You think the CEO will allow me to become a mortgage broker, or he's going to tell me no? Can't get
involved in that conversation, I'm afraid. But it's natural for people who sit within certain communities within Genistar, where English may not be the first language, who may express an interest. And I'm more than happy to help people on a career journey. I'm more than happy just to give people advice. It's amazing how much you remember about your own journey when you start speaking with people about their journey, and they can learn from my mistakes and they can learn from my successes. So I'm more than happy to help people. Timing is always down to what the market's doing. So let's talk about the housing market, which is your first point. The housing market is tough if you want to buy your first home. There's no two ways about it. I looked at the housing market statistics just yesterday. House prices have gone up again by nearly 5% year on year. And it was already tough last year. So how do you get to that deposit level? That's the challenge for young people today. It's not easy, but there are solutions. There are oven-ready solutions that you can use, like the part-time Genistar income to build up your savings. And we can look at mortgage solutions as well, obviously, where there's 0% down and 5% down options as well. But think about what the housing market is doing. If you buy now, if you have the means to do it and you buy now, what's that property going to be worth in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years if the market carries on as it is? That's the way to create wealth that you can give to the next generation as well. It's harder for us than it was for our parents. But there are still ways and means to do it if you get the right advice.
It's amazing that in I don't mind sharing my age, and in 1971, so kind of about just over 50 years ago, I saw that the average house price in the UK was just under £6,000.
Wow.
And look at it, we usually joke and say, so why didn't you buy one then? Because I think there's the lack of understanding that £5,000-6,000 then was like, or $500,000 today. It was kind of the same thing. So again, if you're, and as you're saying, imagine if you did have one then and you've kept it,
Yes.
what it would look like today.
Exactly. And look, there's two things that I'd ask people to look at when they're looking at growth numbers.
Yeah.
So number one, look at the rate at which house prices are going up. And let's say they go up 5% a year. Look at the rate that inflation goes up. So this is how much your money is worth.
Yes.
If inflation is going along at 2-3%, your property price is going up at 5%, it means you're winning.
Yes.
It means your money is
Yes.
growing.
Yes.
So that's what I would say to anybody looking to put their money somewhere. I firmly believe in property. I do it myself.
Yeah.
I own my home. I'm a landlord, and I would encourage people to try to follow the steps that myself and my team have done to become homeowners.
Yeah.
And we're happy to share our knowledge and the knowledge of the people who've done it well.
And there's something I wanted to ask you as well, because I think just to touch briefly on, we mentioned mortgages, and I think we talked a lot about more of the residential side of things, but would you mind sharing what other mortgages, somebody might be able to get, and how Genistar Mortgages kind of, help in those areas?
Of course, yes. So the common types of mortgages that we do, we've already spoken about, but then we have things like buy-to-let mortgages for investors. So we do get a lot of investors who own their own homes already, who may want to buy another property. What a lot of people, common mistake that landlords do make is they try to buy a property that's right near where they live, which is fine if you live in the northeast or the northwest because things are a little bit cheaper than they are in London. But trying to buy an investment property in London with a 25% deposit is very, very tough.
Yes.
So we encourage landlords to look the breadth of the country, look at the numbers, in different parts of the country, and then put their investments there. So buy-to-let mortgages, certainly, and we can help. And we've got landlords who've got really great success stories, which I'm happy to share as well.
Yeah.
And my team are as well. We do secured loans, second charges essentially. So if you've already got a 5-year fixed rate mortgage, you're halfway through it. If you were to remortgage, you'd have to break the actual deal, which would cost you thousands. So what we can do is if you need more money out of that property, you can take essentially a second mortgage for the small amount that you need on top. And it sits above your other mortgage. We do a few of those, particularly for Genistar clients. We do things like commercial as well, where we've got partners we can refer you to. So if you're looking to buy a business, we can help you with that. If you own a business, you're looking to expand it, we can help you with finance via one of our partners. We can do bridging finance. We can do Islamic finance. So there's a whole breadth of things that we can do. In-house, the things that we tend to concentrate on are residential and buy-to-let mortgages. We've got partners that can help with all of these other specialist needs as well.
All right. That's awesome. It's good to know. What do you, and I know you did ask me with just some of the things, but how about part buy? Are they, how favorable is it for somebody who's looking at the part by part rent? Is it favorable? Is it looking for them at the moment?
So they're very good for people in areas where the property prices are expensive and it's hard to save a deposit. So definitely worth looking at. So I would recommend, if you can't get to the right deposit level, part by part rent is certainly a good option, and they're very popular in London.
Okay, cool. All right. So what would you say to someone who's thinking that sounds interesting, but I'm not sure it's for me? And where can someone go to, to learn more or, get started?
The best place to get started, I think, is, like I said to you before, do some initial research around online. I would probably suggest around your needs, educate yourself about generally what mortgages are, how they work, then just speak with Genistar. Genistar will then understand whether you qualify. So people like you and your team, they can do that initial qualification process because you've got a bit more knowledge. And then if it all fits and it looks like it's worthy of a conversation that can help the client, then we will get involved and provide the advice. So that's how the process starts. Mm-hmm. We do have a website as well, Genistar Mortgages, .co.uk, which has got some very high level information on there. You can use that as part of your online research as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So, Taj, thank you for spending this time with me. I think it was awesome, and it was a great learning experience for me. I hope you enjoyed my company as well.
Always popular.
All right, fantastic. But thank you so much, and we really enjoyed this time, and I look forward to sharing with you again, or for you, getting together again and us sharing with not just our Genistar family, but also to the wider public, how we can help them to move forward.
Look forward to it. Thank you for the invitation.
So, guys, we thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and we do hope that you will continue to listen and keep researching and hearing some more about some of the other great podcasts that we've shared before. And it's always a pleasure for us to share, and part of our mission is to help more people to become financially free, and also to help more people get on the property ladder. And we hope that this has been beneficial. And anything else that we're doing, we'd love you to keep going. And hey, tag us as well. We'd love if you tag us as well and share this. It's not just for you to watch it, but it's also for you to share if this information is valuable to you as well, because it just might be valuable to somebody else. You never know. So tag us, share this with everybody who you know could really benefit from all of this as well. Thank you for joining us today on Financial Freedom for All. Join us next time for more ideas about mastering your money and living your dream. Thank you.